Well, I figured I'd get to this review as quickly as I could, so that way I don't leave viewers longing for it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about a newer release, 3,000 Years of Longing. Before we begin, let me know in the comments what your thoughts on this movie are, if you already saw it, or if you were planning on seeing it. And make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you like these reviews, as it helps me out immensely by getting my content out there. And if you're new here, I hope you consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with more movie-related content on a near-daily basis. But let's not waste any more time and let's talk about 3,000 Years of Longing. This stars Tilda Swinton as a lonely scholar who, on a trip to Istanbul, discovers a Djinn, played by Idris Elba, who offers her 3 wishes in exchange for his freedom. Based on the short story The Djinn in the Nightingale's Eyes, this is written and directed by George Miller, with this being his first film since his mega hit Mad Max Fury Road, which is probably my favorite film of his to date and one of my favorite films of 2015, which naturally led me to being really excited for this. Especially since Miller's one of those directors who has such a unique vision with each of his movies. So unique, in fact, that he never holds himself down to one particular genre or style. I mean, this is the same guy who went from making Mad Max movies as well as The Witches of Eastwick to then also making Babe Pig in the City and both Happy Feet movies. So you never know what to expect when it comes to this director's films, and considering I never read the original short story this was based on, I really didn't know much of what to expect with this, which I think is one of the most fun aspects of walking into a George Miller film. This winds up being his take on old folktales like 1001 Nights. Storytelling is an integral part of this film's focus, with the scenes of Elba's Djinn and Swinton's Alethea being something of a framing device. Once the Djinn is summoned and he and Alethea develop a rapport, the film then shifts to 3 separate stories the Djinn tells of his past, including how he wound up being trapped in the bottle Alethea finds. So a good part of this will be these shorter tales taking place centuries ago, accompanied by Elba's narration. Now, this is the sort of narrative structure you generally don't get that much of these days in mainstream filmmaking, or in too many movies these days in general. So it's something that viewers might find a little off-putting, which seemed to be the case as not many people went to see this, unfortunately, despite it getting a wide release. Rarely does it feel like mainstream, wider release films play out almost like these anthology movies, so while it's unfortunate this bombed at the box office, I do kind of get it. Now, I'm not even the biggest fan of anthology movies myself, unless every segment comes from the same director, which is the case here, and even then, but despite that, I thought this was still a success, even if it doesn't exactly reach the same heights as Miller's other works. Now, visually, it looks fantastic. There's some CGI that does look a little bit off here and there, but all the sequences involving any of the Djinn stories looked great. They had such a bright color palette with some really solid costume designs, and there is that sense of wonder and awe to the overall aesthetic that will keep you engaged. And I also liked how each of these stories tied into the film's thematic elements. This isn't that the Djinn decided to tell these stories just for the sake of it, nor does he even appear with the express purpose of explaining his history to Alethea. It's just when Alethea questions the purpose of making any sort of wish, that's what prompts the 3 tales, which are meant to give her some introspection, and really get her to think about the things she values the most and what her deepest desires are. And all this is conveyed wonderfully through 2 great performances by Idris Elba and Tilda Swinton. Their characters' relationship is very gentle, though with a lot of apprehension by Alethea, as she initially suspects there's a catch when it comes to the Djinn's wishes. But there's also a tenderness in the way they eventually try understanding one another that made them work so well together. Now, these are 2 actors who rarely, if ever, turn in a bad performance, and their exchanges are a big part of why this works so nicely, especially during the latter part of the film. I will say, though, that maybe that gentleness and Elba's very calm, smooth narration doesn't always quite mesh with these stories he tells that are meant to have this grandiose, almost adventurous feel to them. I mean, as I mentioned, the visuals for each of these sequences do evoke a sense of wonder and awe, but I don't always feel like they consistently resonated on an emotional level. Even though the Djinn is narrating these personal stories regarding how he was trapped in the bottle, the way Elba's lines are delivered, while not bad, it does make it feel like his character is a little disconnected emotionally from these events, even though he was directly involved with them. It's the sort of narration that would have worked better if they were about things he wasn't involved with, so it doesn't lead to the emotional heights as consistently as it should have reached. And this is just on top of that overall somewhat subdued tone, not always meshing with the bright, colorful aesthetic at times. So it did lead to some pacing issues for me that would sometimes lead to me feeling a bit taken out of the moment. I wouldn't say I was bored with the movie overall, because there are plenty of moments that are visually breathtaking, and I did find myself caring for our two leads, and I was invested in them. And once things come full circle, it ends on a really strong note. I just think that the journey getting to that point was a bit hit and miss. 3,000 Years of Longing is going to be a little off-putting for some audiences, and it might not exactly be George Miller's strongest work, but when it works, it works. Despite some pacing issues, the way the individual segments connect to larger meaningful themes, along with some breathtaking visuals and two great performances by Idris Elba and Tilda Swinton, make this a solid enough experience. 3,000 Years of Longing gets a 6.5 out of 10. So let me know, did you see 3,000 Years of Longing, or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Is this one of your favorite George Miller movies? Is it one of your favorite Idris Elba or Tilda Swinton movies? Let me know in the comments below so we can discuss. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share it, and for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching everyone, and keep having fun with film.